Ladies and gentlemen, you have stumbled on another week of Officially Speaking, hosted by Luke Bryan Tour. I am Luke Hamilton, and this is
Brian Herzog.
Really exciting stuff we're going to get into today. We have the esteemed 20-year veteran of La Liga. It's the Venezuelan League for all you
Would you like
Americans
me to say
out
it?
there. And Brian has a better non-American way to say it. Go for it, Brian.
Liga de Venezuela Beisbol Profesional.
Jairo Martinez, we call him Chief in the respect that he is due 16 years crew chief down there in Venezuela.
We also have umpire school that just wrapped up right now. I have one umpire, Tyler, over at the minor league umpire course. And then I have another friend, Seth, over at the Harry's umpire course. I've known Seth since I met him with Chris Siegel in the South Atlantic League, and I've known Tyler for a few years now. Coincidentally, at the advanced course, they both made it in from separate schools, and they are partners for the entirety of the advanced course.
That's pretty awesome. That's kind of a cool setup.
Yeah.
Before we get going with all this madness, Brian, how's that polar vortex treating you?
Yeah, well, it was great last week when we talked, when we were with John White, but we got dumped on a couple days ago, and we're getting dumped on right now. We got a lot of snow. That was kind of a downer because that canceled my camp this weekend. I had a camp with NBUA, Northwest Baseball Umpires Association here, and kind of a crappy week all around, I guess, because I'm also disappointed I had to email back and decline Finkston Ball. We just got our invites to attend our third year of Finkston Ball together.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
Yeah.
You will be tremendously missed in the Austrian community.
I do hope we get to go back there again in the years to come. So.
Oh, most definitely. We've been 2 and 3 times, and that's someplace we'll frequent, I'm sure, in the many years over and over.
So, Luke, how you been this week?
Well, myself, I'm trying to decide a stronger SPF to be using when I'm working baseball games because they think I'm a farmer.
Most of the country cannot wear short sleeves on the baseball field right now. So.
Yeah, I don't know why I even got an umpire jacket. I never used that stupid thing.
Just be happy about that you have to put on sunscreen.
I'm the world's most hated person now, much less okayest umpire. Great. No, I'm excited to have Jairo on this week. He is just a dear man, and you'll get the sense of that as we talk to him this week. Today we have Jairo Martinez. He has a very colorful resume, and you guys get to hear him in person. Jairo, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
So Jairo is someone who we got to know, as we said, in Venezuela. And yes. He was not either one of our crew chiefs, Brian and I. He actually was Travis Carlson's crew chief while down there. But we had the experience of everybody having a day off, all 4 of us gringos, and Bonnie. Mm-hmm. And we got to go to the top of the mountain thanks to Jairo being our tour guide. So, Jairo, you've had the opportunity to be crew chief for a lot of American guys that are no longer in the game and quite a few major league umpires. Is any season stand out more than another as far as your experience with having those gringos on your crew or situations that you remember?
Well, yes. I remember I had a situation with one guy, like Chris Ward. Remember Chris Ward?
Chris Ward, yeah.
Yes, he had a problem with the diabetes. He forget his insulin in one of the airports during the flight, and we arrived to the next city. He don't have any insulin to use it. That day was horrible because he almost died, bro. He really scared me. He was really bad. But fortunately, we found some insulin with one of the players, and he used it. And after that, was great.
Well, I'm glad you got to play doctor and save everybody's life that day, both on and off the field. Shoot. Obviously, the theme for this week is everybody around the country is, I guess, some are closer than others. Here in Florida, we're already working baseball games and getting onto the field. There's not a whole lot of downtime as far as baseball season goes in this part of the country. But for most people, they're waiting for the snow to melt and trying to thaw out from last week's deep freeze. And so it's kind of a buzz in the air. Teams are getting ready to send their teams down to Florida and Arizona for spring training. And it is an exciting time. I mean, I've grown up with that. And however, Jairo, you grew up in Venezuela. You've umpired how many years in the Venezuelan league?
20 years in pro baseball.
20 years. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And how many years of that were you crew chief?
16.
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, their season starts in October and goes through the end of January. And then at this time of year, you would be going to the Caribbean World Series and be hosted Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic or Venezuela and Mexico.
Yeah.
And so you're winding down your season.
Mm-hmm.
And how many years did you go to the Caribbean World Series?
4 in Venezuela and 2 Mexico, 1 Dominican Republic, and 1 Puerto Rico. It's like 8 Caribbean World Series during my 20 years.
Did you have much downtime after the Caribbean World Series? I mean, I've never gotten to experience that. I've seen a few games on ESPN, and I mean, for my limited baseball experience,
that, bro.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not compared to these guys that are big league careers, or for you guys that have been in Venezuela year in and year out. That's about as high and intense of a level of concentration. I mean, those games for 9 innings can go 3.5, 4 hours easy, and everybody's riding on every pitch, and it's just amplified, I can imagine, at the Caribbean World Series. I mean, like, while the rest of us are gearing up for baseball, you're like at the height of your powers, and then I'm sure here in about a week when the series is over, it's just kind of like, all right, finally I can relax for a little bit.
Finally breathe.
It's no different when you are in a minor league. You have to wake up, go to the gym, take your breakfast, take your food, after that just relax, take your lunch, come to the field, try to talk about every situation in the field, and if some difficult situation happened the night before, try to keep your mind on the game. It is not easy because you have to taking care about your family, you have to taking care about your own business, and it's not easy. But when you have a long time doing that, it's like it's only one more day.
Now, after the Caribbean World Series, did you work in the Venezuelan Summer League as well, or help evaluate with that, or what did you do with your summer after the season?
Well, after the Caribbean World Series, we had the Venezuelan Umpire Camp. Mm-hmm. 7 years working with young guys, working with some guys who want to be a professional umpire, and you program, and meanwhile you are doing your job too. You have to go to some international tournaments in different countries.
Okay.
I had some experience in Taiwan, Europe, Latin America games, and this is all baseball during all year, bro.
Yes. Well, I mean, even now, the Florida life fits you perfectly because it's baseball all year round around here as well.
Yeah, because you have a travel game, high school game, college game, senior games.
One of the things, and Jairo, I've talked about this, I've told him, but Jairo might be, no offense to Brian, one of the best, if not the best umpire I've ever worked with. And I say that simply because he works so many levels of baseball that it's very easy for somebody who works as much as he does throughout the year, but not only that, but throughout his life, to get up for every game, to concentrate and focus for every game. It's amazing to me. We got to work a game last year together that was just kind of assigned to us, and it was through the college group, but I guess it was a couple of Jersey high school teams that came down. And this guy put on a clinic behind the plate for just a practice game, for a game that didn't mean anything. Just the machine that this guy is, and how he can be so focused and so in tune and call such an amazing game. Like, he doesn't take plays off. He always hustles. Like, his mechanics, his timing, his everything. Like, body language, you thought he was working, in my opinion, a Caribbean World Series. Same time I watched him work in Venezuela. Like, this guy is that good. And people don't realize, unless they work a bunch of levels of baseball, it's tough to do and adjust and call the game accordingly. And people, what amazes me is that, we were joking in that game how, man, we've come a long way. Here we were working in front of 25,000 in Caracas, and Caribbean World Series for him and everything else, and year after year, and now we're working for some practice high school game. And boy, we were just joking, man, we've really made it.
Yeah. But when you have to keep in your mind, don't worry about what level you are working. Try to keep your intensity, and that's it. Because sometimes I hear some young guys and some old umpire talking about okay, I had a board game, I had a easy game. Any game is easy, any game is boring. It's only how you work. Sometimes you have only 3 guys in the stand, but sometimes you have to go as an international championship with 55,000 people in the stand. Because in Venezuela you have 25,000. But I was in Taiwan when I was playing Taiwan versus Japan, bro. 55,000 people yelling all time during all game. You have to keep your focus, but it's the same when you have only 3 fans in the stand yelling at you because you can hear everything. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, I understand. I think the point you're trying to make is that Taiwan game was a good warm-up for our high school practice game. Wasn't that was the message you were trying to get across? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, man. You have to you have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to keep you focus on the game. You have to, because every game is a practice for you. Every day is a practice for you. You are practicing to be a better umpire. I'm still practicing every day. I'm still practicing. I make my mistake like everybody. You can see the major league guy making a mistake, but just let it go and keep going.
You're right. I'm telling you, when nobody's there and nobody's watching, or you're working some junk game that you think nobody cares about, somebody sees that and says something. But you're right, you have to keep that in perspective. Like, hey, you can't take a day off, a play off, or a pitch off, because you never know what's happening or who's watching. It speaks to your character that you are able to do that and do that repeatedly. One other amazing story that I have is Jairo. I didn't get to see him until January of 2012, until the fall of, it's 2019. It was the fall of 2017. We were at that camp. I got to see you there, and then found out you were my first game on the schedule the following first day in March, I want to say, in 2018, last year. This was right after Brian and I drove down, and he flew from Seattle and landed in Baltimore, and I picked him up there, and then we drove a couple days down here to Florida. And I get down here, and I realize I've got a game the next day, and I've got no plate pants, no base pants. I reach out to Jairo, and I'm like, I've got nothing, bro. What size do you wear? He says it happened to be the same size that I wear, miraculously. They were a little high waterish, but that's okay. No problem there. Nothing wrong with the little saggy britches behind the plate. And he bailed me out big time that day. I tell you that, what a guy. But it speaks to Jairo's heart. Like, he'll do anything for anybody, but especially for people that he cares about, and that's something I've always appreciated. And it, again, like, not just your attitude going into each and every game, but just what you do for us off the field as well. That was a very special day in Venezuela. We talked about earlier, where you took us up the mountain, and we got to go see Caracas from above the clouds, essentially. It was a really cool day, and hopefully get to see you again this season on the field as well. I look forward to that.
Something that I think that a lot of the Venezuelan guys you see, when they try and get into the minor leagues and take that route, if that's the route they're going to take, they move up very quickly. That's got to come back to, the environment that you guys learn to umpire in from the beginning, because that's a huge takeaway for the American guys that come down and work there, and then you go back. all of a sudden nothing you do back in the States is very hard. Like it's just once you've umpired at a level, Jairo, I'm sure a few times you've maybe feared for your life. I saw a video the other day, and I know that Travis had to go through this of, all the cops in Caracas, and they had their shield over, and they had the dome over the umpires as they had to leave the field. So specifically, Jairo and the Venezuelan guys, when they learn to umpire in that environment, and then you come, I don't think the focus and the discipline and all that stuff, that's just kind of bred into Jairo at this point.
Yeah. I told you before, no matter what level you are working, you have to keep your intensity, because this is different when you work in Latin America, countries like Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Mexico. You have a lot of intense fans. The intensity in the stand is very high, and in every game. Right here, sometimes you can see, "Come on, Blue," and that's it. Right there. No, you remember. This is why you have to keep you focus in the game, your intensity. You have to keep your mind in the game. It's difficult because you have some problem in your real life. You had to taking care of your family. You have to taking care of your own business, and you have to focus on your game. You will be there for 3-4 hours, and you have to keep your mind in that point. I know a lot of guys who's working in Major League now, who work in Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico. That experience was really, really, really good for his career.
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest experience in their career. You can talk about it because you live there.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, we just got a slice of what you went through. 20 years of working and 16 years of being a crew chief. People even who have worked professional baseball, and there's guys who work professional baseball that are in the big leagues and never worked overseas, never got the privilege to work in Venezuela or Dominican Republic, and it's a bummer because that's something I'll always cherish. And you're right, the lessons learned from there be with me forever. It really did not just change my umpiring career, but and how I put things in perspective. But it did change my life as well, and not just because life's different down there or whatever. I mean that you guys and your attitudes and how you work with different umpires and different crews from every year to year, and it's pretty special.
And one of the biggest success I have, and one of the biggest emotion I have, is when one of the American guy called me chief, like you. Like Luke, it's very. I have a couple guys in Major League. When they saw me, they told me chief. They don't tell me Jairo, but that's for me. It's good. It really made me feel good. One of the things I try to tell everybody is you need to know what you are doing. You need to know how you are handle your life. You need to know how are you handle your career. If you have a mistake in the field, you need to know, because sometimes you think, okay, it was perfect tonight. And this is why I talked with Carlos Torres, one of the Major League guys. I talked with him. And then sometime during the season, he called me and said, Chief, you watch my game? He said, yes, I think you missed a couple pitches. And then he told me exactly what pitch I think he missed. And this is the way you can improve. This is really good for your career.
All right, Jairo. So, a question we're going to be asking everybody is: who is your dream 4-man crew? Who's 3 other people that you would love to work a baseball game with?
Have to be a Major League guys?
They could be anybody.
Well, definitely, my grandfather is number one. My grandfather had to number one, and my father number 2. And one of my best friend, had to be there. Is the guy who he's no umpire, but he was inside the baseball. He was with me in the university, and he covered my back every time. Definitely my friend, my grandfather, and my father.
Was your grandfather or your father, did they umpire as well?
No,
Neither one of them?
They don't have idea how the baseball is.
So you were an original Martinez umpire.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, nobody in my family.
What got you into umpiring to begin with?
I started to umpire in 1986.
1900s?
When I had only 13 years old. I have an injury in my knee when I was 12 years old, and after that, I said I'm not going to play anymore. But one day I was in the field and I was in the stadium, and somebody needed an umpire for a 6 years old game. I said, it's me, definitely it's me. After that day, until today, I was on the field like, like coach, grounds crew, scorekeeper, everything. During my first 10 years in baseball, I was doing everything. In fact, I was a head coach for the Venezuelan team in the international championship.
Wow.
2 times, yes.
That's
this
pretty
is why,
amazing.
my career doing inside the baseball is not only like umpire. I was a coach for in high level too. I had a national championship.
Speaking as an original umpire myself, nobody in my family, friends, just kind of was one of those things. I fell into a summer job of umpiring. It's funny to me when you have stories like you, like where it's not like your dad umpired or your uncle or something that got you into it. It's just like, well, can't play anymore. Nothing else to do with my life. I guess I'll umpire. Now that's pretty extreme for a 13-year-old kid. You don't think that way, but nonetheless, an injury forced you into umpiring. And you're like, I like this. This is a pretty good gig. I think I'll do this for the next forever years of my life.
In fact, because I was coaching, and the young kids say, "Hey, coach, why you don't play? If you're still doing a young guy." Say, well, I played one more time when I had 18, and only to have my own fans in the stand, 20 kids yelling, joking with me, try all that same.
I love it. Jairo, we were going to have you on again sometime soon if you'll do it with us. It sure was a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for making.
No, it's really my pleasure for the invitation. Right, I really enjoy a conversation about the baseball, about the umpires, and it's our life.
I appreciate your example. I'm reminded of every day I step on the field and try to emulate your good work and your character and your discipline. It's an amazing to me the number of lives you've impacted, and thank you for taking time to impact more lives today.
Yeah, anytime, buddy, anytime.
I would appreciate you, brother. Hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks, brother.
Okay, guys. Man. Have a good one.
Well, I always have a great time talking with Jairo. A couple things I just can't forget from Venezuela is that every time we had to travel, because we had 4 stadiums that we stay, we just commuted for, and we had 4 other cities that we would have to fly to. I don't think we had one single flight that was not changed somehow, whether it was late, some kind of delay, or the gates always changed there. And we just sit there looking at our crew chief whenever someone would come over the intercom to find out if we had to move gates again. And I don't know if you remember, Luke, but whenever the heads of state would come into town, do you remember basically the entire lobby turning into like a TSA security level, with metal detectors and all that? That was good luck getting my gear bag through that metal detector.
Yeah, that's when I just said, screw it, I'm working the bases in.
Yeah, I'll take my base bag every day.
I'll be the replay official. You got me. You know where to find me.
And so next week we'll have Thomas Haywood, who's the OG in getting us all to come out to Finkston Ball, and he's been the consistent guy that's been with us at every single one of these tournaments. Finkston Ball, London, Taipei. Hopefully we can get out to Prague with him next year or this year.
Yeah, we got some opportunities for Prague. We've got some opportunities for Switzerland and Austria next summer, and so hopefully some of these gigs can pan out. Also, man, he's very well connected and such a great enthusiast for baseball umpiring. Sure is refreshing.
Brian, Tom Haywood here. Yes, I'm up for if you want to do your podcast on my time, your Monday lunchtime, I think is the best. Happy to do that. Happy to help out. I appreciate you can't come to Fingston Ball. Things get in the way and what have you, and you can't do Fingston Ball this year. Shame, but Matthew Lee from Singapore is coming back. He is absolutely keen as mustard. Luke spoke to me about you guys going to the Czech Republic in Prague, Czech baseball, and the Prague baseball week with a possibility, if not extra league, which is their top league. But really looking forward to catching up with you this year. It's always such a good laugh, and I appreciate your wisdom, my brother. We'll talk to you later. Cheers.
Well, like every week, there comes our music, Luke.
And that's probably the most exciting part of the podcast for those of you who are still listening.
Yeah, it is, because that means our outtake is coming up at the end of this.
We always appreciate your feedback, your constructive compliments, your praises.
That's right, and you can leave those constructive compliments wherever you can find us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are at Luke Bryan Tour on any of those 3 platforms. If you'd like to follow Official Business, we're official-business on Facebook and officialbusiness.us on Instagram. And as far as this podcast goes, officially speaking, we'd love it if you'd leave us a rating in iTunes or on the podcast platform you listen to us on. And don't forget that if you listen on the Anchor FM app, you can find the profile page of this podcast and click on the button in the upper right-hand corner to call into the show. We look forward to hearing your questions and suggestions, and we're going to start featuring some of those calls on the show in the near future.
Yeah, we just want to build it up to be something that you guys would enjoy and provide some insight and some laughs and so on. And you get the gist. It's fun for us. We look forward to having so many more people on the show. Don't forget to leave comments and requests for things you'd like to hear about, people we'd like to have on, and it would be tremendous to us to get your feedback in any capacity.
And never too serious, here's our outtake from last week.
We're just telling random stories and leaving them hanging. It's just like, it's like office material. None of this can be used. The things that I'm like, okay, that's definitely going to be in the podcast, and that's great, whatever, doesn't make it. Why is he keeping that in there? What the heck is he thinking?
I said the words delete that, and it's in there. What the